You know, every one of those days where, like, you believed in a God, that day you were a theist, and on the days where you didn't, those days you were an atheist. I mean, that's all there is to it. Now, you can go, and by the way, it's not just a matter of atheist in Christianity. I mean, you know, Christianity doesn't make sense to Jews and Buddhists and Muslims. Obviously, they're not accepting Christianity. There's the idea of accepting the claims of various. But on every day that you consider your beliefs and say, and you're able to say to yourself, I don't believe there's God, those are the days that you're atheist.
Now it's more often that I'm feeling these, I guess, that I'm believing these things because you know what, because I watch your show a lot, and those days where you just said, you know what, none of this makes sense. It's good to have, you know, evidence for your beliefs, and it really makes no sense to believe something without, you know, having sufficient evidence. I'm sort of on the same boat right there. I like to question a lot. I'm a big skeptic when it comes to, basing my life on something. I mean, if I were to base my life on something like a religion or God, I would at least like to have sufficient evidence, you know, in order for me to do so. I go to college, and you know, I joined a Christian organization there, but I really got, you know, I really noticed how that Christian organization works. It's where you have to pay, you know, in order to go on trips with them, and it was really it ran more like a business. It didn't run like, you know, like something that Jesus would teach. You know, just like much of Christianity now is based on books.
That's all. I agree with you. It's all irrelevant. There's Christian organizations out there that are scams. I'm sure you'll find atheist organizations out there that are scamming people. That's separate from the issue of whether or not fundamental claims that religion is making are true. And if you accept it, then you're a Christian. And if you don't, then you're not. Are there any specific issues from Christianity that you're having trouble letting go of?
I guess the whole fear-based, because the whole fear-based thing about, like, well, if you don't believe in our religion, then you will go to hell.
Yeah.
That really messed it up for me.
I take that one. Let me tell you how I dealt with that. And I remember the moment. I'm walking down the street, right, and I'm feeling skeptical about the religion I was brought up with, and it occurred to me, I was having trouble accepting the idea that stuff wasn't true because of the fear of offending this, you know, cosmic world-creating entity that supposedly loves me and gave me everything, right? That I felt guilty about it, and I felt fearful that I was going to be asking for trouble if I dropped the religion. And then I remembered how often I've been told that God was fair, just, would never, you know, do anything to you that was unreasonable. And I realized that God, the God I've been raised to believe, would never in a million years do harm to me just because I used the brain that I've been told he gave me. And the moment that I realized that, I felt free to look at the actual facts without the fear, and 5 minutes later, I was calling myself an atheist. And if that doesn't work for you, how much time have you spent worrying about being punished by the Hindu gods, or, you know, do you worry about the fact that you're not a Jew or that you're not a Muslim? Are you sitting around in fear of the consequences of not believing in those gods?
Well, no, actually, I was actually watching Richard Dawkins' event on YouTube where he was talking about, you know, like, if you were to grow up in India, then you would believe in the Hindu God. If you were to grow up in Israel, you probably worship the Jewish God. So it's all based on where you're at, and based on how you grow up, how you're sort of indoctrinated, how you're socialized into a certain institution, that is going to basically dictate, well, I have a great, I'm not saying dictate, but have a great profound influence on what you believe.
Sure, it's the reason why most of the time we end up talking about Christian concepts of God on this show, because we live in a culture that is predominantly Christian.
And I've grown up, in Catholic church. That's basically from the time I was a young kid to probably around the time, because I joined the military in 2003, and all throughout the whole military, I was probably Catholic. I read my Bible and everything, those times I was lonely, I missed home, I used to read, a couple verses that would, bring me comfort or whatever. But I just found that, even the military is really heavily Christian influenced at that time, because I used to get, flyers and, free Bibles and the little Gideon Bible, New Testament, and it was sort of hitting, nudging me on the shoulder, you catch our drift, this is what we want you to believe, So that's the whole idea I got when I was in the military. They were trying to push some kind of, doctrine on me. And when I got out, I basically, felt like a lot of veterans when they got out, you're transitioning to new society. Well, no society that you left for 4 years, and then you're trying to get back in it, you're trying to, make sense of everything right now, and you're trying to get back in. And I found a church, I tried to join, and I joined a Protestant church. And that Protestant church, I found was a little shady because preacher always used to talk about, giving money, you're giving to God, quote unquote. You're not giving, he lived in this huge house, And I found
I'm agreeing with you. I'm just having a hard time understanding, what's left holding you back. The question that Jeff asked before, and, there's two options. There's an argument given here about how to deal with potential concerns about fears of consequences of not believing. I don't know what else to say on that.
I think I'm with Jeff there. These are just irrational beliefs. I mean, I have no evidence that any of this stuff's going to happen. I have a good friend, he says, don't fear the unknown. Don't fear. I mean, it really makes no sense to fear anything. I see life more as this, you live and you die. Death is a natural part of life, you're not going to live forever. And I don't, understand why most people are afraid of dying, because they feel as if, this lifetime is just sort of going to dictate living in that. But, I just feel like it's irrational for me to believe these things. And I agree more with the atheists now. Welcome to the club.
There's no official ceremony or anything, but the day you decide that you've given up on religion and you don't believe that stuff anymore, then you're an atheist in multiple ways. Yeah, we got convictions and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm just this is just a particular belief that I have. I was listening to this one atheist and he was talking about, don't label yourself anything. Atheism is just a certain non-belief that you have about a God. But you're you.
That's right.
First and foremost, you're handsome, or you're deaf, or you're mad. And you should put yourself there first. Yeah, you should put your own what you like. I like a lot of things. I like play music. I like all these different things, and a lot of what religion was doing was hindering a lot of my progress, because I was just devoting my time to this image or this concept of God that I had in my mind, and I think it's normal.
I think there's usefulness in actually adopting some labels, because saying I'm an atheist doesn't put me in a little box where an atheist would be open thing. I'm a whole bunch of them. There's a ton of different labels that apply. but running around saying, no,